BPG, one of the main media agencies in the region, differs from others for being unique with its vision. Its vision is a catalyst of change and a story builder. My guest today, BPG Group CEO, will tell us more about this. Hi, Avi. Thank you for taking the time for being with us on Tawasul Show. I would like you please to start by telling us a bit about BPG and about yourself.
It was started by the current chairman's late father, a gentleman called late Majid Ahmed Al Gorer, back in 1979. I joined Pan Gulf in late 1991. Some of our significant things that have happened is, in 1995, we helped the Dubai government come up with an idea called the Maharajan, the Dubai Shopping Festival. In 1999, we helped the Dubai government with coming up with the idea of the knowledge economy. So what you see is the Dubai Internet City and Dubai Media City. Pan Gulf in 1999 also sold substantial equity to a global company called Cordiant, which owned a brand called Bates. So we merged the Bates interests in across Saudi and Lebanon and others, and we called it Bates Pan Gulf. In 2003, when WPP acquired Cordiant, we became part of WPP, and we've had a rather interesting run. I would say a reasonably successful business, which has never had a loss-making year through its phase. So we are bottom line focused for our clients and for ourselves.
Avi, would you please tell us about the restructuring of BPG?
Ever since WPP acquired Cordiant, we started changing various names, and as we had specialist functions, initially the public relations business, our public relations business, WPP had a global brand called Burson Marsteller, so we became Burson Marsteller for a little while. Then our media practice became BPG Maxus, and our digital asset creation practice became BPG Possible. That was through the over the last 15 years. When we came to 2017 last year, we started realizing that we need to recalibrate as the industry is changing dramatically. So we decided to change our branding and come back to our roots, which is to create our own brands. So we've got 3 brands now: BPG Max, which is media analytics and experiences; BPG Orange, which is advertising, design, activation, and digital asset creation; and BPG Kuwait, which is an integrated practice in Kuwait. So these are the 3 businesses that we've got. So we are now nimble, agile. If WPP decides to merge Burson Marsteller and Conan Wolf, it doesn't affect our lives. If WPP decides to drop Possible or to sell Possible or merge it with some other business, it doesn't affect our lives. So WPP continues to be a significant but minority shareholder in the business. But as we say, we brought the destiny back in our hands, that we have to drive. At the end of the day, clients want global best practices, but deeply rooted in the region, and we think that we've got space there.
How is the relationship going with WPP/Group M?
WPP has been a shareholder in our business. They inherited the shares when they acquired Cordiant back in 2003. Group M aggregates media interests of WPP. So since WPP is a minority shareholder in us, we continue to work with Group M, but on a mutual basis. We don't work on Group M clients. It's our clients, and therefore, if it makes business sense to Group M and business sense to BPG Max, we work together. So there is a very close and cordial relationship, but on the same hand, we don't service their clients. They've got their own client businesses, which they own 100% or majority, and we are a minority interest. So we can't blame Group M if we don't perform, and vice versa. Group M cannot do their projections based on what we do. At the end of the day, we are one family.
BPG portfolio has both local and international clients. How do you cater to both?
Local and regional clients and the international clients that we've got have the control in the region. So as example, one of our largest pieces of business today is the Nokia brand, HMD Nokia. But the decision making is here. So we believe that we have that competitive edge, that we don't translate what happens globally into locally. We create things that are relevant to this region. And that's how, whether the client is a regional client or a local client or a global client, they need local inputs.
Media and advertising industry is changing lots of challenges that we can't deny anymore. The first challenge is the changing needs of clients. What's your take on that?
In today's context, I'm sure this morning, rather than reading the newspaper, you would have checked your Twitter and seen what is the important things that are relevant and important to you. So you customize your own media based on what your needs are. So you tend to use social media much more. So if we were to advertise a product, whether it's cosmetics or luxury or whatever is relevant to you, if we were to advertise in the local newspaper, we would never get to you. So media consumption habits is forcing the industry to reinvent itself. That's the first factor. The second factor is that today, most client brands are as focused about market value of their stocks as they are about market share of their products. Perhaps a little more about that, because it's all about creating value. So marketing services also needs to recognize that we need to be much more business focused, and which is why what we used to call strategy, now the strategy consultants are helping clients. So we need to change and we need to reinvent ourselves on that. The third is, as business practices, everything is about agility today. You've got an idea, you want it out in a matter of hours or minutes, not even days. So you need to create structures that are agile so that a client's ideas can be expressed as fast as possible to keep pace with the changing market. So these are three factors that are pushing us as an industry to change. And while historically we've always been considered as a trend-oriented creative industry, in reality, a lot of our practices have been deeply rooted and very conservative. So sometimes I feel we are perhaps more conservative than law firms, or we're more conservative than other professional services firms like investment banks or the likes.
We've talked about the changing needs of the clients. How are these changes being translated into the budget reallocation or into what we call the media plan?
Till a few years ago, you did a media planning exercise in Q4 of a year, and for the entire year, then you just bought that media and things worked like that. In today's context, clients are changing. They're taking the pulse of the market and they want to change the media virtually every day, by the hour. So again, agility, I believe agility has changed. Consumption, your consumer's consumption base has changed. So that is forcing a reinvention of media planning, and tools like artificial intelligence have started coming in to make sure that what you call programmatic, or where you're trying to buy based on data, a lot more data, and you're using a lot more automation at the back end to deliver to the client effectiveness. So the ballgame has changed completely. And at the core doesn't change. The core, that understanding the consumer is key to buying media. You can't buy media well if you don't know who your consumer is and what he or she does. And coming back to you as example, if we tried attracting you through newspaper ads, we're never going to get you, because you're not the type of person who's got the time to wake up in the morning and look at the newspaper. So media planning, the practice has changed totally. It's much more data driven, it's much more real-time analytics, and it's much more responsive. And gone are the days where you got $100 million and you just put it on network television and ran it.
How is this also being reflected on reallocating the budget in different countries of the Gulf?
You look at the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is today the world's largest consumer of YouTube, because the feeling is that entertainment was not till recently available as freely as in most other markets. So with the advent of cinemas, now cinemas is going to be a fantastic advertising medium, because in the kingdom, as the number of screens go up dramatically, it's going to be great. Look at a place like Dubai as example. It's a small physical area with a lot of traffic. So what are the implications? Outdoor has become very, very, very big and very critical, as has become radio, because that's where people are in the cars much longer, for longer periods of time than in the past. So sometimes media consumption habits are changing with the change in the lifestyle and the demographics of a country and availability. So our media planning has to factor that in. If we continue to use traditional vehicles, we're not going to get there. I still believe, contrary to perceptions, I still believe television is a great medium for this region. If you've got a regional brand, the impact that television creates, Facebook, YouTube, none of these can get anywhere close to that. Call it old-fashioned, but I still believe the value is there, and you see that in the numbers as well. Yeah.
The second and very important challenge that the media and advertising industry is facing is the economic restraints. And this is something also we can't deny anymore. This is very closely translated to the budget that has been allocated by the advertisers and is affecting our final tool, which is the media plan.
The core challenge is because the client needs a more agile solution. You don't just buy a plan for the year and let it run on autopilot. In today's context, the client is getting real-time data, and the client wants to change the message as it's happening. So that leads to a different set of challenges for us. If you have to create a social media campaign, the life of that campaign is in minutes. It's not even days. So you need to keep continually creating content, and therefore you need a much more nimble and agile team, and which can multitask and keep innovating at the same time. So the whole model has to change. Some of us who are doing it a little more successfully and effectively are being able to buck the economic trend. At the end of the day, it's still, if you're consuming Colgate toothpaste in the morning, you're still doing that. You're not consuming any less of that. Maybe you're changing your mobile phones more often. Every 3 months you're changing your phone. Your cars, you're still using the same cars. Or maybe if you're a complete millennial, you don't want to own anything, you're using Uber or Careem, and that's great. My boys don't want to own anything. It's a new economy that's coming up. Communication for that is still the same. Uber and Careem still need communication. They still need advertising. So I think most people say is going through a cyclical trend, that advertising spend is down because of market factors. I personally don't agree. It's a structural change that's happening. Marketing spends are not going down. Maybe advertising media spends are going down. It's for us to figure out the best way of getting media.
How do you evaluate the current competition of BPG with other media agencies? Is it as difficult as it was always been, or is it like fiercer now?
See, in the old days, you used to look at a club and used to say, my competition is this international company, that international company. Why? Because they have similar strengths, they have similar clients, they do similar things, they win awards. In today's context, your competition could be a small company that you and I start tomorrow, and that can compete with the biggest company. The clients are not concerned about size, they're concerned about what is relevant to them. So there's a lot more competition, there's a lot more fresh energy that's coming in, and those of us who are cribbing about this are frankly turning obsolete. So that sense of entitlement that this is my budget or this is my client, the party's over. Every morning we need to have this feeling of a hunter, that nothing is entitled to me. It's not like I've got a job and from 9 to 5 and I've got to get a salary at the end of the month. Today, the self-employed industry is huge. And that is what the biggest competition to the likes of us.
In light of all these difficulties and challenging, BPG ad expenditure Jan to September 2018 not only sustained live compared to last year.
The reason we could do that is because we're now independent. So we don't have to use tools that are globally aligned. So we can buy our own tools, so we can build our own tools locally and regionally that are relevant. So partnership with Oracle, most other networks can't do that. But we are able to do that because we're completely locally controlled. And these kinds of initiatives are helping us stay ahead of the curve.
I see and I feel that you are still a believer of the traditional media vehicle, yet you also believe in the digital advertising. How do you see in the very near future the proportions going between online and offline?
I think the beauty comes in omni-channel, and when content is getting more omni-channel, even our industry needs to disseminate messages on a converged platform through an omni-channel. So that's where I think both offline and online can support. There are certain messages where offline actually helps online deliver impact, and in most cases, online helps offline create impact.
Avi, would you please share with me a specific success story pertaining to BPG?
The story goes back to when we were building this idea called the Dubai Shopping Festivals. It goes back to 1995, when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum agreed on the idea. Then His Excellency Mohammed Al Abar called me and he said, we need to work out a commerce between the Dubai government and you guys. How do we do it? So he asked me and said, show me 4 different models on how we can remunerate you. And I shared 4 models. One was as a consultant, one was the IP being owned by us, the third one was as an ad agency, and the fourth one was on time basis. So he asked me then, where do you think you'll make the most money? I said, certainly at the percentage of revenues. And he said, where do you think you'll make the least amount of money? I said, as an advertising agency with a fee, a percentage of spend. So he said, what are you recommending? So I said, as an advertising agency, percentage of spend. So he said, do you take me to be stupid? Today you can take me to the cleaners, and why are you recommending something where you make the least amount of money? So instinctively I said, I want this business for 10 years, not if I take you to the cleaners for the first year, that's it. You'll figure out at the end of the first year. So I want, and sure enough, we had that business for 11 years after that, and that transformed our business. But the lesson that we learned was, make sure that you play for the long term and not the short term. And that was wonderful.
Avi, I would like you, please, to address some tips and advices, first to the advertisers and second to the media agencies.
If you don't market, if you don't invest in marketing, you will not have loyal consumers. So no matter what, your marketing is as critical to you as your stock price. Your stock price will not perform if your consumers stop performing. So stay as focused on marketing as you have been in the past as well. To media companies, ensure that you don't feel entitled. You have to be agile and you have to deliver solutions which are innovative and unique to the marketeer's needs. So keep innovating, listen to the pulse of the consumer, because that is important, and deliver innovation.
Avi, thank you for being with us today. Thank you for all the rich experience and information. And I'm also very glad to know that offline media still exists, even with the online media. Thank you.